Local first. It's really what News 4 is all about.
This is Local 4, where local news comes first.
Good evening, I'm Carmen Harlan.
And I'm Devin Scillian.
As is the case with most rights, the right of self-defense comes with responsibilities.
But when I talk about Olympic hockey, because when I look at my twin daughters, my Detroit-born twin daughter,
if you've got anybody around the house who's been waiting for the fireworks to start, go tell them.
Sit down.
It's right now.
Glad you're with us at 6. I'm Devin Scillian.
I'm Kimberly Gill.
This parade underway. It is the best part of any day in the city of Detroit.
A really interesting week as politics has decided not to settle down for a long winter's nap.
Every time I think about you, or I see you on TV, I just laugh because we had a good time.
We sure did. Devin Scillian, Local 4.
I'm Devin Scillian in Sydney.
I'm Devin Scillian.
Good night from Hong Kong.
From the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island, I'm Devin Scillian, Local 4.
From Paris, Devin Scillian, Local 4.
Wow. Good evening tonight from one of the newly placed jewels in the crown of Detroit, the beautifully renovated Michigan Central Station. It's a sparkling sight in Corktown, in a city that has been a comeback tour for decades now. The inside just as gorgeous, and it's been so exciting to see Metro Detroiters stream through this building and see what we've been able to see close up, the physical marking of progress in this city. So fitting that we would be doing this broadcast here tonight. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kimberly Gill, and I'm joined for one of the last times by my partner, Devin Scillian.
It's great to have you here. I have no idea what you have on the menu tonight, but I love the location of where we are. One of my favorite spots in the city, and sitting next to one of my very favorite people. People ask me about my years in Detroit. It is hard to really, in fact, watching that clip, it's hard to remember much about what came before getting here. I came here decades ago, of course. I knew it was one of the best stations in the country, and thinking how great that would look on paper for my next job search. I did not realize at the time I would never need another resume again after Detroit got a hold of me.
It really has been great, and the time has flown by. And we're coming to you live from this special spot because it holds a near place in your heart. And we gathered here with thousands of you the night that this new beautiful landmark was unveiled for all to see. But it's not Devin's only favorite space here. Let's kick off the tour of his incredible career and his other favorite jewel in that crown, the Fox Theater. Let's go back 30 years when you arrived in Detroit as a reporter. 1995, you're taking over for Mort Krim, who he himself a titan of a news anchor in Detroit. Talk about some of the big stories that you remember from 1995.
Well, let me first just say that you and I both broke my rule, which is don't ever try to replace a legend. I, ended up doing it, trying to replace Mort Krim, and you tried to, trying to replace Carmen Harlan. I think that for both of us, we were very lucky to be at a TV station that knew what it was doing and knew how to make that happen. And fortunately for both of us, Mort wanted to leave. He was not being forced out, and obviously the same thing is true of Carmen. So we were set up, I think, to succeed, which helped a lot. But at the time, as I remember how bleak Detroit kind of was at that. Especially, you could really sense it at night. I love that Channel 4 is downtown. We're not one of the Southfield stations, and I have always loved that we are right here downtown in Detroit. But back in those days, trying to find dinner downtown, there were just a handful of choices. It meant a lot of Greek salads from Nicky's down the road. There weren't a whole lot of choices. Now it's what a different world that we're in now. Now we can't even get around all the places that are, that are there for us. But that sort of, the fact that you could fire a cannon up Woodward at night back in those days and probably not hit anything, that was a part of the story that we were covering a lot then. It was this really troubled city that had a long way to go to get back. And then, things started to happen. CompuWare moved downtown. Blue Cross Blue Shield moved downtown. Edsel Ford led the changes to create something, to create this big public space in Campus Martius, and look at what that is today. So it was brick by brick, but man, it felt like it took a long time to bake each brick back then, and it was it was glacial for a while. But at the same time, there were also one of the greatest journalistic experiences of my life will always be that first Red Wings parade, Stanley Cup parade in 1997. To look all up and down Woodward, all across Hart Plaza in this sea of red and white, just more people than any of us could ever have imagined seeing in downtown Detroit at one time. And it was not only this great celebration of what the Wings had done, ending that long drought, but it was also a real indicator of what Detroit could be. But I think today, you know, the outlook, not just here in Detroit, has changed, but the whole country, the whole world feels differently about Detroit. You know how I feel about Detroit's place in music history. It is the greatest music city in the world, and that's fantastic, and people understand its position and what it was able to do, and being the arsenal of democracy and helping win World War II. And of course, it put the world on wheels. So there's so much to celebrate about this city, but in lots of new ways now that are really thrilling, really thrilling. So to have been here that night at the opening of the train station. Yeah. And I was one of the folks who thought, let's please tear that down, because I'm sick and tired of it being the symbol of everything that's wrong with Detroit. And then look what Bill Ford did. And so I feel so lucky to have seen all the things I've seen.
Definitely. Well, it's no secret our careers as journalists have taken us to some fascinating places around the globe, and you have chased 6 continents, I believe, with stories.
I haven't made it to Antarctica yet. Yes, that's right.
What of those trips abroad would you say taught you about being a journalist and finding the story in any location?
Well, you know, we've always said at Local 4 it was where local news comes first. That doesn't mean that it can't happen in Jerusalem. Well, I mean, sometimes the things that affect our community do happen in a lot of other places. And so it means going to those places, but seeing it through a Detroiter's lens. I think that's a really important part of it. But as I've told you before, every place I've ever gone has adjusted my thinking. You know, I thought I knew something about it, and my thinking isn't always quite right. And that's the other really important part of journalists, getting around to those places and telling the stories that are there.
Yeah. All right, well, let's travel back through some of those pivotal moments now with Karen Drew.
You and I talk about local news coverage. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean it's only happening here. It means viewing whatever happens anywhere in the world through our local sensibilities. Yeah. And it just so turns out, as you know well, everything that happens in the world, somewhere there's a Detroit connection.
This is the biggest stadium in Russia, packed to the rafters for the All-Star game. You combine it with the most famous trophy in sports and some of the most legendary athletes Russia has ever produced, and it was just magic.
When I first met you, you had just gotten back from your trip to Russia.
We went over to follow the Stanley Cup when the Russian Five took the Stanley Cup over after that first big cup win. Here they were taking the symbol of Western hockey, the Stanley Cup, back, standing right in front of Lenin's tomb. It was unbelievable. The Russian Five had such a different kind of hold on this city's imagination. No matter what you had thought of the Russians before, watching those 5 guys skate around on the ice, it was like watching some sort of a magic show.
Downtown and all the stores and businesses in their windows where they've been counting down the days until the Olympic Games, they will place a big 1.
Was there an Olympic game that really touched you?
To have been able to go to 10 of them. I feel like I bookended the 2 best ones. Right. Sydney was amazing for so many different reasons because it was my first. And Paris really was such a wonderful, almost restart of the Olympics that we've all come to know and love.
The Cold War that has existed between the United States and Cuba has...
Cuba, that was an interesting assignment.
Cuba had always, been this place that just seemed so
in black and white. I mean, it really seemed very removed from what Cuba once was.
Is there any place more readily identifiable than this? One look around and you can only be in Havana, Cuba.
I get there and I find this vibrant culture of music and food and obviously under the thumb of communism, and yet a way that, this human spirit that finds a way to thrive in the darkest places sometimes. And of course, for a Detroiter, going back and finding all those cars still come to life.
Speaking of cars, obviously some of your travels took you to places to cover things for the big three.
When I remember being sent to Germany to cover the merger of Daimler and Chrysler.
For the longest time, German cars didn't include cup holders because the idea really didn't make sense to German engineers. Did you want to drive or did you want to stop and get something to drink? Once they did take to the idea, naturally, they did it like no one else.
I was really, I couldn't figure out if you could marry the cultures of the company. Mm-hmm. And at the end of all of it, they really couldn't quite mesh those two cultures. Mm-hmm. You and I both believe this. The best anchors are good reporters. People who, want to know how to get out from behind the anchor desk every once in a while. But my favorite part of journalism really is pondering some of the biggest questions.
When the white smoke started to pour out of the chimney, let me take you back to that scene as it occurred.
The Catholic Church looms so large in America, but of course in Detroit.
You brought photo albums.
I have photo albums. A few familiar faces.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Bill Bonds.
Yeah.
Eli Zaret, and Mort Krim. Our job, I believe, as journalists, is to go out and find the things that are truly important and then come back and make them interesting. And it is up to me and incumbent on me to package it and shape it in a way that does help you understand why it's so important. Mm-hmm. That's my job. And if I fail at that, then that's on me, but the consequences are grave.
It really is incredible to see all the places that this job has taken you.
For me too, to watch it all put together that way. You can lose sight of it sometimes.
And one of the things that sticks out to me is the tip that you shared once with me about always packing a ball cap with the Old English D on it.
Totally right.
And it is so true. I can remember going to London and covering the death of the Queen and having that Old English D. And not only that, seeing people with the Old English D, walking up to people in London and somebody saying, "Oh, I'm from Mount Clemens."
Exactly
and it never fails.
It's a bat signal. Because obviously if I'm covering a big event, I also would love to connect with the local folks who've come there. Mm-hmm. We ran into a bunch of them in Paris. And so that Old English D hat, it really is a siren call. And before you know it, you've got a Southeast Michigan or Detroit party going on around you.
Exactly.
And there ain't no party
like a Detroit party. That's right. Well, speaking of hats, you have always worn many, from anchor man to family man. Anybody that truly knows you knows that your wife, Corey, and your 4 beautiful children are your everything. I want you to talk a little bit about how Corey especially has played a role in your success.
Well, okay, so Corey and I lived next door to each other in high school in Junction City, Kansas. I had a crush on her almost from the not almost, from the day I saw her when we first moved to Kansas. She was in my first class that day in high school. And the truth is, so we've been married now 38 years, but we've really been together for about almost 45. And the truth of the matter is, KG, almost everything I do, I am still trying to impress Corey Stanisic.
Oh, wow.
Whether I'm writing a song, writing a story, writing a book, manuscript, and she has always been the one, if I'm working on a documentary or a story, she knows what I'm capable of. Mm-hmm. And if she thinks, it's fine, then I need to get back to work at it. And if she's impressed, then maybe I'm doing okay. She's... And I was smart enough to marry my best friend.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, we would want to learn a little bit more about your incredible love story, so our Kim Adams sat down with Corey to find out where it all began.
I walk in and I'm like, and he looks at me and he looks away, he looks at me, he looks away, and I sit down in the row ahead of him. I'm like, one more time, I do one of these. And that was kind of the beginning of it all.
Still, it took a while for Devin to make a move.
He's pretty pretty straight-laced kind of guy.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little straight-laced.
Yeah.
At the end of theater practice, I was just getting mixed messages. And I finally asked him, I said, do you like me or what? And he said, you're a little too wild for me. And so I said, you're lost. And I walked away.
But by the end of the school year, they were together. And while Devin has always had a way with words, when it came to proposing, he didn't exactly make himself clear.
Nothing traditional in this story.
They were driving back home to attend a party.
We're in the middle of the Topeka overpass, and he goes, I think we should get married. And I kind of cried and laughed because that was the first time the words had been said. But I thought we were in discussion. And we get to the party, and he walks in and tells everyone we're engaged. And there's no ring. You know, once it was out, I wasn't going to start walking around saying, no, we're not.
No, we're not, right. We're in negotiations.
We're in negotiations.
Right.
Despite that initial misstep, they soon began building their life together, moving to Texas and then to Oklahoma City. But when Detroit came calling, Corey said, no way.
It was too far away. It was cold. And he came up for his first interview by himself. And he kept telling me, Corey, it's beautiful here. You should see these neighborhoods. He came in the fall. Everyone's got pumpkins and decorations out. And the trees are gorgeous and it's beautiful here. I was like, well, I like beautiful. I can give beautiful a shot.
Along the way, they welcomed 4 children together.
Griffin was born in Tyler. Quinn was born in Oklahoma City. And then Madison Christian was born, as you know, here.
Because they are your Detroit-born twins.
Yes.
The Scillians hadn't been in Detroit long when they learned their 3rd child was bringing along a friend. Corey gave Devin a card to break the news.
And he opens the card and I said, you better love me. It's twins. I swear, it's like a light lit within him. He brightened the room while we were standing there. He was so excited.
But it was a difficult pregnancy. The twins were born at just 30 weeks.
Christian weighed 2 pounds, 12 ounces, and Madison weighed 3 pounds, 6 ounces.
Corey would spend the afternoons and evening with the babies in the NICU. And after the 11 o'clock news,
he would get off work at 11:30, and by the time I was putting down the babies, he was going to pick them back up. And he would hold them till about 3 in the morning.
But don't expect Devin to lay down the law.
And when he would try and get mad at the kids, it was so funny. We just kind of laughed because I was like, try again. Try that again, because they're not going to listen to that. They're going to go, was Dad mad?
While they came to Detroit for Devin's career, Corey Scillian found her passion here too, at Pewabic Pottery.
And he, for Mother's Day, when the girls were 2, went to Pewabic, signed me up for a class. And I came back to my first class and I went, I think we found a thing.
She has since become an accomplished ceramic artist and served 3 years as Pewabic's board president. Her work will continue. And she's not worried about Devin getting in the way.
I have had my husband home during the day our entire lives together. So a lot of women are like, what am I going to do with my husband in the house? I'm like, he's been there the whole time. I've just had my nights alone. And so I do look forward to going to like movies on a Wednesday.
Right.
Their kids are grown now and chasing their own dreams. But Detroit, it's still home.
Oh, they're all Detroiters. And it's funny because, you know, our home is in Grosse Pointe, but their mentality is that they're Detroiters.
Corey says it's been a wild ride, and they're ready to write the next chapters together.
Devin is one of the greatest storytellers I've ever known, and I'm not sure he could have even written such a perfect story. It's just perfect.
Yeah, I agree.
You guys.
What do you think? What are your thoughts seeing that?
Well, I hope you get an indication of why I'm so in love with her. But Dirty Pool, her repeating the story of my horrendous proposal, which was sort of barely a proposal. It's funny, I always talk about how when my son-in-law, Colin, wanted to ask our daughter, Quinn, for her hand in marriage, he asked Corey and I if he could do that. And I told some people, isn't that great that he had? And in fact, I think I told you that. And you said to me, yes, it was you. You said to me, did you ask Corey's dad if you could? And I said, I barely remember ask Corey, as you could see.
There you go. All right. Well, we've had some surprises up our sleeve the past few weeks as we get ready to say goodbye to Devin, like the one you're about to see.
Uh-oh. There seems to be a Channel 4 truck. I'm going to get in that one. Oh, my gosh!
Who was inside that car and elicited that kind of reaction from Devin? Well, we think you'll recognize every passenger. The big reveal is coming up next.
Hey Devin, it's Jared Goff. Congrats on a great career. Thanks for all you did for the city of Detroit, and appreciate you.
Hey Devin, it's Barry. Congratulations on your retirement. You know, the journey from Oklahoma to Detroit worked out pretty well for both of us. Only thing is, you were in your prime much longer than I was. Enjoy retirement.
These kids don't want to settle for lip service from the store owners, so they're asking them to sign a contract promising not to sell cigarettes to minors, no ifs, ands, or cigarette butts. Just shiny backs poking out of the murky water. But they were cars that found out just how flash a flood can be.
All of a sudden it was like a flash flood. The sewer drains were shooting water 8 feet up into the air, and it was just unbelievable.
But while the motorists were trying to figure out what to do with their cars, residents of the Galkey Park area of St. Clair Shores were trying to figure out what to do with their basements.
And he tried to tell me it was sewage. I said, this is rainwater. I mean, it'd come in along the seam of the port floor and the wall.
Even the best laid fire escape plans can't always account for the panic of children. Little Melvin kept threatening to run downstairs to try and use the front door. It would have taken him through all of this, a move that certainly would have killed him. I'm not sure how scientific we can expect all this to be. There does seem to be a little problem with honesty here. Are you really willing to admit that you have flossed your teeth with a strand of your hair?
I cannot tell you that I remember that story.
I cannot get enough of these old stories. It's just been great. Well, we wanted to take you back to your first few weeks here at Local 4 as a reporter with a look at some of your earliest assignments. What do you remember about that first week of you walking in as the new guy?
Well, it was daunting, not just thinking about being an anchor in a big market like Detroit, but the reporting staff at Channel 4 in those days was, good heavens, the luminaries. It was Emery King, it was Ann Thompson, it was Mike Lewis, Dan Mountney, Jennifer Moore, Asha Blake. I mean, it was an intimidating room.
Sure.
Roger Weber. I mean, so many talented people. So that was one adjustment. But I believe where we saw the flooding there on I-94, I believe that was my very first story.
Is that right?
Funny that, gee, we haven't covered flooded basements since then, have we?
Been going on 30 years now.
It has.
Well, over the years, you've worked alongside some local news legends, as you mentioned, and last week, some familiar faces got together to surprise you with a little reunion.
There seems to be a Channel 4 truck. I'm going to get in that one.
Hey, Devin.
Stevie G! Hi, buddy.
Good to see you, man.
How you doing?
I am doing great.
Good.
I am here to help you celebrate as you join us on the retired side of the fence.
Wait a minute. Are you the ghost of Christmas past? I'm up for a ride.
All right, good
Let's
deal.
do it.
Oh, before we go, are you a fan of music? You like music?
A little every once in a while. Yeah, it's okay.
All
Yeah.
right, 'cause
Yeah.
I listen to this guy all the time in the car. I think he's great.
It's one of my favorite songs. I love this guy too.
Let's go get some friends.
All right.
Gas station sunglasses, Steve Earle on stereo, blonde hair flying in the wind. I'm not sure just where she goes.
Did I get in here? Hey! Oh my God! I thought you would never come. Do you know how cold it is out there?
You guys understand we have to get something that we can put on television, right? You understand you understand the premise here? I'm not here for this freaking
I didn't invent
You
this.
tell me. Okay, because Big Al will be so upset if we don't bring up that moment, Devin.
Oh, Lord.
And you know we're all grown up now, so I think we can handle it. You know.
Was that what the problem? We weren't grown up then. We didn't know. The night of the Woody doll.
Now, did you get a Woody?
I
Did you get a Woody?
And Buzz Lightyear, the whole
And
bit.
you got a Woody and a Buzz.
I did. What an evening I had.
It took on a life of its own. We couldn't buy that publicity today.
Well, we tried. I think we tried to buy the footage back from Dick Burton. We couldn't get it back. Wow!
Hey, you know this guy.
I'll be doggone. Oh, brother.
Is this the van to the senior home? I'd like some oatmeal. Oh, congratulations.
Thanks, my man. Oh, this is great. What a deal. Charlie, tell me about life.
Well, you know, I just I wander around until some car picks me up with the camera. And, you know, because I miss it.
We came by.
Yeah, good thing. I don't know how you guys knew, but I've been wandering for like 4 years, and it's wild.
Well, just up ahead here, we got another friend I have to pick up.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be pulling over.
Okay.
I think you know this guy.
Let's see. Oh my gosh! Get the heck out of here!
Hang on, I've got to get.
How are you?
I know. What are you guys doing here?
Brother Bernardo, look at this.
Come on, this is it. Why don't we?
I thought I got rid of you people.
You know, the thing about working on the set with these guys was that Mort wasn't there. No,
So little known and little remembered story about me and Mort. But my very first day on the air, I'm out doing a live shot along I-94, and Mort is pitching to me, and he says, "The newest member of the Newsbeat team, David Sullivan."
So why did you change it to Devin Scillian?
When did you change your name? That's it. We have all been in Detroit for many, many years and seen some dark times in this city. Isn't it glorious the way the city is just thriving now?
And when you think about the great spaces in the world, there are great public places for people to gather in great cities. And look what this has become. It is one of the best public spaces anywhere. I've always loved that we were here, but what it's done is it gave us this front row seat as everything changed and developed. And it's a stunner. It really has been amazing.
Hey, one thing we haven't talked about, are you guys thirsty?
Yes, I would always.
Because I brought some great drink. This stuff is delicious.
We have Detroit Lions Kool-Aid. Baby, baby. You are the original inventor of Detroit Lions Kool-Aid.
This is the one real downer about this retirement thing now.
Yeah.
We're all leaving just before they finally go to the Super Bowl.
Isn't that right?
Isn't that going to be exciting?
Maybe it's been us all along.
Hey. Oh, what the? Oh, wrong car.
Oh, that's too good.
All of you retired people and you almost retired person, get out. Go do whatever it is you do.
Just like mine. Just like mine. Just like mine.
That was too much fun.
I was going to say, was it as much fun as it looked?
We had an absolute blast. Loved the soundtrack, especially.
Of course.
But it was so much fun, and it was such a reminder of what a special thing it was. A lot of cities, anchors last for a long time. Teams don't always last as long, and that was about 20 years that we were all together as a team, and that's really how the family atmosphere of it came about, right? Really lucky. Yeah.
Indeed. Oh, we know one of Devin's passions is politics.
I fear so.
And Flashpoint has been a staple of Sunday mornings here in Detroit for more than 25 years. Devin has interviewed presidents, politicians, and so many others, but the one interview he says will stick with him forever may surprise you. We'll head to break with a message for Devin from the man responsible for restoring the incredible Michigan Central.
Devin, thank you for all you've done for everybody in our area. You've been such a part of Detroit for so many years. Like me, you and I have seen Detroit go through lots of different phases. But the one thing that was always true about you was that you always were very, very positive about everything going on in the region. And you always looked for that story, even as others were focusing upon the negative. So thank you for all you've done, and thank you for your friendship for all these years.
Devin, I just want to say congratulations to you on 30 years of service, for us, watching you deliver the news to us and deliver so much just positive energy and great memories. Growing up was always a treat to see you delivering the news of our city that always had so much news to be delivered. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you over the years and having our small interactions, but it's always a pleasure when you get to meet such genuine people and such great-hearted people as yourself, man. So congratulations. You have provided us with so much, so I just want to say thank you for that, and wishing you luck on your next journey, the next chapter. All right, take care.
Hey Devin, Kelly Stafford. Just wanted to congratulate you on retiring. I'm so excited for you, and I can't wait to listen to some of your country music. I'll be watching, listening, whatever. Congrats.
Hi friends, welcome to today's episode of the Quarantine Interludes. New strings today, because you're worth it. And today's song is by the late great Tom Petty. This is Walls. Some days are diamonds, some days are rocks.
That is just fantastic. Those were so great. That's one of Devin's quarantine interludes, of course. You posted songs like that on social media during the pandemic, and it really resonated with people, including my then 2-year-old, who we would just watch, and he would just be enamored with watching you strum the guitar there.
It was really funny the way that we were all stuck at home, and what do I do when I'm at home? I play the guitar and the piano, and I just thought, it might be a nice diversion for folks. I thought that when I started them, I was maybe in for, 2 weeks.
Just a few?
Yeah, just a few. And, 2 months later, I was like, this is getting out of hand every day.
Well, from your love of music to your love of politics, Devin started Flashpoint at KFOR in Oklahoma City and then brought the show here when you moved here to Michigan. The first episode aired in August of 1998. And before we take a look back, Devin, what has been your biggest takeaway, would you say, from your time behind the desk anchoring Flashpoint?
That sometimes stories really do need more than the minute 30 or 2 minutes that we can give them in a newscast. And people need to be given the freedom and the space to sort of articulate more complex ideas and more nuance. Sometimes where we decide that on television or broadcast debate that it's great to watch people, go at it and they're not really listening to each other. That's what I've also learned too. I don't need that. Yeah. I want people talking to each other, hearing each other, and having a meaningful conversation.
And listening. All right, well, let's listen. Flashpoint.
Hi, and welcome to the inaugural edition of Flashpoint, our monthly forum on issues that are important to all of us.
I'll be honest, when Flashpoint first started, I think I kind of had the idea that it would be like a local crossfire, which was a program on CNN where people would get so impassioned in their arguments, you would see spittle flying across the table. That was what the program was for a little while. But I finally decided that I was interested in a program that was going to provide light instead of just heat.
You really think you're being fair to the mayor, blaming him for the dropout rate in the Detroit schools when he's only had the school district for about 30 days at this point?
I also wanted to have people on my program who were open thinkers. People like Debbie Dingle, people like Mario Moro, who was really my first partner really on the program here. Nolan Fenley at the Detroit News. Similarly with Stephen Henderson, a real thinker. Steve Mitchell. And then we've added a lot of people over the years that have really become really part of this Flashpoint family, and I rely on all of them. It's this piece of paper that we have, and it's not very long. We have found over the years that not everybody belongs on Flashpoint. That may sound arrogant and haughty, but that's how much I respect the people who watch Flashpoint.
We are live this morning.
Flashpoint has been such an amazing luxury. I tell people all the time, it's probably the best part of my job. To be able to have 30 minutes to dedicate to one topic if need be. And over the years, it has been everything from
this morning. Congressman, good to see
terrorism in America. Race has been a huge component of Flashpoint. It was really when Flashpoint came into its own, was the first conversation on race that I hosted with Emery King up on Mackinac Island.
Clearly, you people are my problem.
The fall of Kwame Kilpatrick, just an extraordinary chapter in Detroit's history. The bankruptcy.
I don't have a magic 8 ball this morning. I've got Kevin Orr, the Detroit emergency manager.
It's such a complex situation, and I know a lot of people turn to us every week to understand the ins and outs, the nuances. There have been so many unbelievable conversations for me personally over the years. I've had a crazy lineup of guests, everyone from Barack Obama to Jackie Mason. But the one interview that I come back to all the time in my head was during the pandemic. And I talked to Thomas Lynch, Michigan's undertaker slash poet. And we talked about that during the pandemic, people were not able to have what Thomas refers to as a good death. A weird phrase to many people, but the way he explained it was so lovely and made such sense. That interview just has stayed with me forever, and I think it will forever. My hate mail tends to run 50-50. Half the people who get in touch with me cannot believe that Channel 4 would put a conservative like me on the air. The other half just does not understand how an unabashed liberal like me is allowed to just pontificate every Sunday morning. As long as my email and letters and phone calls were running 50-50, I always felt like I was probably in a pretty good space. But I've always wanted Flashpoint to adjust the brightness on your television. I knew it was never going to be the most watched program of the week, but I wanted the right people watching the program. And I feel like that's where we arrived. Yes, I am a little embarrassed to tell you that my ringtone is indeed the Flashpoint theme song. And I don't think I'll be changing that when I leave.
That's how much you love it. It is indeed
Absolutely, yep.
your ringtone. Well,
Yep.
your last episode of Flashpoint is actually going to air this Sunday.
Coming up this Sunday, and we'll have kind of my original, you saw a lot of them there, but a lot of the folks who were sort of the foundational pieces of Flashpoint will be joining me on Sunday morning.
That's really great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we keep mentioning surprises, and we think this next one will be your favorite one yet, Devin.
Uh-oh.
Your 4 children all wanted to honor their dad, and you'll see it next.
Devin, Nick Baumgartner here. I just wanted to say happy retirement. Man, the interview that you came up and did with me was one of the greatest interviews I've ever done, and just your love and your passion for what you did shined through that, and it showed in every story that you did. So I just want to say thank you for everything that you did for me. Have an amazing retirement and go out there and enjoy it. Much love, brother.
Hi, Devin. It's Annie Laser. I just wanted to send you a massive congratulations on 30 years at WDIV and your well-deserved retirement. We are so excited for you, and I just want to thank you so much for all the amazing stories you've given us over the last 30 years, for your innate way to make every single person that you interviewed feel like the most important person in the world. I know you told my story with an incredible amount of integrity and vulnerability, and I just really appreciate everything that you've done for me and for all local Metro Detroiters. Thanks, Devin. Congratulations.
Hey, Devin. Peter Vanderkay here. Just wanted to say congratulations on your retirement, 30 years at WDIV. Really appreciate the great coverage over the years, and especially the Olympic coverage. We're going to miss you, but wish you the best in your retirement. Take care.
I don't know what it was that brought me to Detroit. I don't know if it was fate or destiny or just the job. Whatever it was the luckiest thing in my life. Because when I look at my twin daughters, my Detroit-born twin daughters, I can't help but feel like a proud part of a great town.
Detroit-born twin daughters. I love that line. It's actually something that you've mentioned. People still ask you to this day about.
I believe I told you that when you first came on your interview, right? At lunch. Yes. It is uncanny. We did the promo, and you never know how these things, but the lasting staying power of that phrase. My daughters, I think over the years got a little bit tired of being asked, especially when they were younger. Yes, we're the Detroit-born twin daughters, but the exact phrase, it wasn't just, these are your Detroit-born twin daughters. It tells you so much about the primacy of place here.
And how old are the twins now?
28.
Incredible. All right, now over your nearly 3 decades here at Local 4, you've certainly spent countless dinners, weekends, holidays in the newsroom, and it's one of the harsh realities of this job, being pulled away from family during those special times and special occasions. Yes. Exactly, but somehow through it all, you always found a way to put dad first, be this titan of a dad, and you still do today to your adult children now. How do you do that?
I can't really explain it. We're a very tight family, which means the world to me. It says a lot about their mom, Corey, of course. But I'm really blessed now with 4 kids who I feel like are among my best friends. That's a real blessing.
Well, let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Madison. I'm Christian. I'm Quinn.
And I'm Griffin. And they're the Detroit-born twins.
I am so proud and honored and excited to be celebrating my dad's incredible career at WDIV.
People come up to me, all throughout my life, telling me, your dad is my hero. But he's my hero. And it's one thing to share a hero with somebody else, but it's another thing entirely for that hero to be your dad. But it's been another thing entirely to find out that so many other people feel a similar way about my dad.
You are genuinely one of the most impressive people in my life. I have kept every postcard you've sent me, from the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City to the beautiful Toulouse-Lautrec print you sent me from Paris in 2024. My dad is an incredibly thoughtful journalist, somebody who's really committed to the truth. That changed the way that we talked about life and politics and the world around us in our house growing up. And it made me really appreciate the fact that I grew up around people who wanted to think big things.
I was really little. I actually used to sit underneath the news desk while they were doing the report. One night I heard Carmen and my dad say, good night. So I thought, oh, they're done filming. And I popped my little head out from under that news desk, and I just heard everyone go, oh, no, not yet. So I think that was a little bit of a surprise for everybody in the studio and at home.
So even as I have left home, I still feel, constantly guided by that spirit. And I'm just incredibly proud of my dad.
I love you, Dad. Super proud of you. Super proud of everyone's work at WDIV.
And I just want to thank you so much for that. And congratulations on a beautiful career.
How does that make you
You
feel?
guys are playing dirty now. That's really special. I'm sorry we don't have the video of that night when Quinn popped up.
So cute, though.
Pretty great. And the kids always loved the summers because they could come with me to work at night and hang around in the newsroom. And Corey always talks about how we raised a family of competitive talkers. And it's because everybody was dialed into what was going on, and dinner conversation was always about, world events and politics and all that. And I'm very blessed that I've got 4 very artistic children, but also 4 very righteously minded kids, and I'm just so proud of.
Well,
of
as I said before, I think it means so much to see your adult children still want to call you, for advice, even though they're grown up and they still want to talk to their dad, even though sometimes they call in the middle of the newscast.
They still seem to find a way to call somewhere between 6 and 6:30. It's uncanny, isn't it? It's a time zone thing, maybe, because they are spread all over the place.
Yeah,
but I'm so blessed.
You really. All right. Well, Devin's message to the city of Detroit is coming up next.
Hello, Devin. Lester Holt here. I just wanted to say congratulations on an amazing career and 30 years at WDIV. It's been a pleasure following you all these years and running into you when we're on the road doing a big story, and of course knowing you. I'm sure you are glad to have more time for your music. Enjoy every minute of it.
Devin, congratulations on your retirement. You are an absolute legend. Thank you for everything.
We love you.
We love you.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Things that have always been most important to me. There's a lot of different ways to be a journalist, and a lot of people have different motivations for getting into broadcast news or any kind of news. And some people they do what Hank Winchester does, and they're consumer advocates. They do what Karen Drew does, and she's, an investigative reporter. There's a lot of different, but I got into it because I loved the idea of writing the first draft of history.
If you could go back 30 years, what would you tell the Devin Scillian of 30 years ago?
It would be interesting because one of the things I would tell is, dude, relax. You're fine here. You don't have to keep looking and thinking about, what's next. This is great, and this is about as good as it gets.
So enjoy the moment.
Enjoy the
moment
and be present. I've gotten much better about that as time has gone on, but I was that eager young colt, running through the barn trying to get past all the other horses there for a while, and it probably kept us from just sort of feeling more settled. And Sinead O'Connor had an album title that I just thought was the wisest thing. One of her albums was titled, "I Do Not Want What I Do Not Have." And I think that's really what contentment is all about. And maybe if I could have told that guy, you don't need what you don't have. This is all good. It's all good. And I've been much better about it over the last couple of years, that's for sure. But, because it's funny you would ask it that way, because I was kind of thinking about it in reverse a little bit when it was trying to decide if I wanted to retire. It wasn't what would I tell my younger self, it would what would my younger self tell me. And that kid back at KU would have been going, hey dude, you promised you'd get back to some of these other things. So it's later than you think.
If you had one message to leave for Local 4 viewers in the city of Detroit, what would that message be? Wow.
Well, my message is just thank you. I feel like the luckiest guy on the planet. I cannot believe how my life has worked out. When you're first starting to scrap your way through television, you just you feel like you've thrown yourself into kind of a business that's almost a lottery. Is this ever going to work out? And I am just so deeply indebted to this city and Detroiters and Michiganders. My family and I just are filled with nothing but gratitude for the way that Detroit has taken us in, the way that Channel 4 has taken us in, and that's all I can leave anybody with is just undying thanks.
Incredible. Well, Devin, as thankful as you are for Detroit and your news family, we are so incredibly thankful for you. The rest of the Nightside team is here now to help celebrate your storied career. And of course, as we do in newsrooms, we got to have some food and cake every other day.
Well, I have done everything I can not to mention a lot of people by name this week because I am petrified of leaving anybody out. Because over my time at Channel 4, there have been hundreds of people who've worked at WDIV, and every one of them has been invested in me, and I'm so grateful for that. But the four of us, this is, I know it's going to be, I feel so special and blessed to have had you all in my life.